The unexplained and unusual has always drawn me in. Maybe that's why, when I first heard about Ecliptic, it wasn't fear that washed over me, but a compelling curiosity. I remember that evening like it was painted in vivid colors against the grayscale backdrop of my daily life. It was late autumn, the kind of crisp, cool evening that makes your breath fog in the air and your heart yearn for mysteries. The local cafe, a hub for college students like me, buzzed with the usual chatter. But amidst the mundane conversations about exams and weekend plans, I caught a snippet that made my ears perk up. Ecliptic, a word whispered with a mix of reverence and trepidation. The guys huddled at the corner table were not the usual loud jocks, but the sort who delved into conspiracy theories and fringe science. I edged closer, pretending to be engrossed in my phone, but I was hanging onto their every word. It's not just a drug, man. It's like it opens your mind to other realities. One of them, a guy with a beanie pulled low over his eyes, said in a hushed tone. Another, with gaunt cheeks and restless eyes, leaned in. Yeah, but I heard it can take you too far. Like, into places in your head you can't come back from. Their words sent a shiver down my spine, not of fear, but of anticipation. What would it be like to experience such a thing? To see beyond the veil of our mundane existence? I was a psychology major, after all, and human perception, the bending of reality, had always fascinated me. I left the cafe with Ecliptic etched into my thoughts. It sounded like the plot of a bad sci-fi movie, and yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stumbled upon something extraordinary. The next few days were a blur of lectures and library sessions, but the undercurrent of my thoughts was always Ecliptic. I started noticing more hushed conversations, fleeting mentions of experiences that sounded both incredible and terrifying. The drug was like a specter hanging over the campus, unseen but palpably present. Then, as if the universe was responding to my silent fascination, I got my invitation to the unknown. It was a Friday evening, and my friend Marco, who dabbled in all things unconventional, pulled me aside at another crowded party. Theodore, you're into weird stuff, right? What if I told you I could show you something really out there? His eyes glittered with a mix of excitement and something I couldn't quite place. Depends on how out there we're talking, I replied, trying to sound casual, but my heart raced with anticipation. Marco glanced around, ensuring no one was eavesdropping, and then whispered, Ecliptic, I have a connection. You in? I felt a thrill run through me. This was it, the moment I had been unknowingly waiting for. With a mix of apprehension and exhilaration, I nodded. Yes, I'm in. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I was on the cusp of something unfathomable, teetering on the edge of the abyss. I wasn't just going to look into it. I was ready to dive in. Little did I know, the abyss was staring back at me, waiting to swallow me whole. A week after the party, the chance to experience Ecliptic finally came. I was both nervous and excited, like a diver standing at the edge of a high cliff, about to plunge into unknown depths. Marco had texted me earlier, his message short and cryptic. Tonight, my place. Be ready to see the other side. I remember standing in front of Marco's apartment door, taking a deep breath before knocking. The door swung open almost immediately, revealing Marco's impish grin. Ready to take the plunge, Theodore? His living room was dimly lit, the air thick with anticipation. On the coffee table lay a small, iridescent pill, Ecliptic. It looked so innocuous, yet I knew it was anything but. Once you take this, there's no going back, Marco warned, his tone serious for once. You sure about this? I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. I'm sure. He handed me the pill and a glass of water. With a final deep breath, I swallowed Ecliptic, feeling its passage down my throat like a key turning in a lock. The effects were gradual at first. The room began to breathe, the walls gently pulsating, colors growing more vivid. I remember laughing, a sense of euphoria washing over me. But then, the journey took a darker turn. The laughter died in my throat as the room stretched, the edges blurring into darkness. Shadows danced at the periphery of my vision, whispering secrets in a language I couldn't understand. I turned to Marco, but he was gone, replaced by a shifting, shadowy figure that seemed to beckon me closer. Panic set in. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body was frozen, my voice a mere whisper lost in the void. The figure drew nearer, its form ever-changing, now a cloud of darkness, now a collection of writhing shapes with eyes that burned like dying stars. I heard voices then, a cacophony of sounds that filled my mind. They spoke of other worlds, of realities layered upon our own, thin as the wings of butterflies. I saw glimpses of these places, beautiful yet terrifying, familiar yet utterly alien. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had lost all meaning. Slowly, the visions faded, the voices quieted, and I found myself back in Marco's living room, drenched in sweat, heart racing. The after effects lingered, a sense of disconnection from the world around me. "Theodore, you okay?" Marco's voice brought me back to reality. He looked concerned, his eyes scanning my face for signs of distress. I don't know," I stammered, still reeling from the experience. "It was intense. More than I expected." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Ecliptic isn't just a drug. It's a journey, a glimpse into something beyond. Takes a bit to get your footing again." But as I left Marco's apartment that night, I couldn't help but feel that part of me was still lost in those otherworldly visions, in the embrace of that shadowy figure. The world seemed duller, the night sky less illuminating. I knew something had awakened, something that would never let me go. The aftermath of that first ecliptic experience lingered like a haunting symphony. At first, it seemed like nothing but vivid memories. But then, things started to change. The shadows in my room seemed darker, full of life. I would wake up in the middle of the night, feeling like something was watching me from the corners of my dimly lit apartment. One afternoon, as I sat in the university library trying to focus on my studies, I overheard a group of students talking about a girl who had disappeared. She was last seen at a party, the same one where I had taken Ecliptic. My body froze and I held my breath. Was there a connection, or was it just a coincidence? I started digging deeper into the rumors surrounding Ecliptic. The deeper I followed the rabbit hole, the more unsettling the stories became. Users reported unnerving side effects, time distortions, encounters with shadowy figures, and some even spoke of crossing into other, darker worlds. One night, while walking back to my apartment, I felt a chilling presence behind me. I turned around and saw it, the shadowy figure from my Ecliptic trip. It was no hallucination. It was as real as the streetlights casting long shadows on the pavement. It didn't speak, but its presence conveyed a message clearer than words. I opened a door that was never meant to be opened. Sleep became impossible. Every night, I would toss and turn, feeling those eyes watching me from the darkness. My friends started to notice the change in me. I was no longer the carefree student I used to be. Paranoia and fear had replaced my usual demeanor. Determined to find real answers, I finally confronted Marco. He was evasive at first, but when I pressed, the truth came pouring out. Ecliptic was no ordinary drug. It was a key to something ancient and dangerous. It connected our world to another realm, a place of darkness and entities beyond our understanding. I realized then that my encounter with the shadowy figure wasn't just a drug-induced hallucination. It was a glimpse into that other realm. And now, the veil between our world and that dark place was thinning. That night, I sat in my apartment, the air grew cold, and the lights flickered. The figure appeared again, this time more defined, its form human-like, but constantly shifting. Its eyes bore into mine, and in that moment, I understood. It was a guardian of the gate I had unwittingly opened, and now it was bound to me, a constant reminder of the price of my curiosity. The figure was always there, a silent sentinel watching my every move. I knew I had to warn others about the true nature of Ecliptic. But how could I protect them from a danger that was already lurking in the shadows, waiting to seep into our world? I searched for others who had experienced the same haunting aftermath of Ecliptic. We shared our stories, a tapestry of terror and madness that wove together into an undeniable truth. Ecliptic was more than a drug. It was a curse. I started a blog, an anonymous warning scribed in the digital ether. "Don't take Ecliptic," I wrote, detailing the chilling effects, the nightmarish visions, and the entity that now haunted my every waking moment. Comments poured in, stories echoing my own, painting a grim picture of the widespread impact this drug had. But the more I delved into this crusade, the more isolated I became from my friends and family. They couldn't understand the change in me, the paranoia, the constant looking over my shoulder, the whispered conversations with unseen entities. My life had become a shadow of its former self, consumed by the mission to warn others of the danger they couldn't see. Then, one fateful night, the entity spoke. Its voice was a mere whisper, yet it filled the room, reverberating in the corners of my mind. "You cannot undo what has been opened. You are part of this now." I understood its message. The veil I had torn could not be mended. The link between our world and the shadowy realm of Ecliptic's origin was permanent. I was a marked soul, a beacon for the darkness I had unleashed. The next morning, I posted a final warning on my blog. It was a desperate plea, a call for anyone who had taken Ecliptic to come forward, to unite in our search for a solution. But deep down, I knew it was futile. The shadows had grown too thick, the voices too loud. As I sat in my dimly lit room, the entity's eyes watching me from the darkness, I wondered if my efforts had been in vain. Had I saved anyone? Or had I simply screamed into the void? The entity remained silent, a constant companion in my journey through the nightmare that my life had become. And in those moments of quiet despair, I realized the true horror of Ecliptic. It wasn't just about the visions or the otherworldly experiences. It was about the irreversible change it wrought in those who took it. Ecliptic didn't just show us other realities. It brought them into ours, intertwining our fates with shadows and entities beyond our understanding. I was a living testament to that, a harbinger of a truth too terrifying to comprehend. As I write this, I know my time is running out. The shadows grow denser, the whispers louder. If you're reading this, heed my warning. Stay away from Ecliptic. Protect your reality, preserve your sanity. For once you step into the darkness, there is no returning to the light.